Derek pulled into the driveway in a car that cost more than most people make in a year. Leather seats, chrome wheels. The engine barely made a sound because expensive things are supposed to be quiet. 3 houses down, Sam parked a 7-year-old sedan with a dent in the bumper he never bothered to fix. If you had to guess which one of these two men was actually rich, you would probably say Derek. Everyone did. That was the whole problem. Because 6 months later, one of them lost everything. And it was not the guy with the dented bumper. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you will understand the one financial habit that separates people who look rich from people who actually are. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it in your own life. Derek was 34, sales director at a tech company. Base salary plus commission, somewhere around $140,000 a year. On paper, a success story. His house had a 3-car garage. His watch cost more than most people's monthly rent. His kids went to a private school with a waiting list. Every photo he posted looked like a lifestyle magazine. Sam was 36, worked as a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing plant, made about $72,000 a year, half of what Derek made. His house was smaller. His clothes were plain. Nobody ever complimented his car. Here is the part nobody could see from the outside. Derek's paycheck disappeared the moment it landed. The car payment alone was $1,100 a month. The mortgage on the house was stretched to the edge of what the bank allowed. The credit cards carried balances that never quite hit zero, just shuffled around every few months when a new promotional rate appeared. Sam's paycheck told a completely different story. $6,500 a month coming in, 20% went straight into retirement accounts and index funds before he ever touched it. His car was paid off 3 years ago. His house payment was less than a third of his income. He kept 6 months of expenses sitting in a savings account, untouched, boring, doing absolutely nothing exciting. If you had shown these two men to a stranger and asked who was winning at life, the stranger would have picked Derek in about 2 seconds. That is exactly the trap. The first sign came in March. Derek's company restructured. Half the sales team, including Derek, got a call on a Tuesday morning that ended with the words, "effective immediately." He was not panicked at first. He had a good resume. He would land something in a few weeks, maybe a month. What is the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen showed up fast. The severance covered 6 weeks of expenses. His actual expenses, the fixed ones, the car and the mortgage and the private school tuition and the 2 credit cards, ran through that severance in under a month. By week 5, he was moving money between cards just to keep the minimum payments current. By week 7, the private school called about the overdue balance. He started selling things. The watch went first, for a fraction of what he paid. Then some of the furniture. He told people it was spring cleaning. Meanwhile, 3 houses down, nothing dramatic happened at all. Which, in this story, is exactly the point. Sam's plant also had layoffs that same quarter. He was not affected. But here is what matters. He had already run the math on what would happen if he was. 6 months of expenses sitting in savings meant 6 months of breathing room. No panic, no fire sale, no calls from private schools, because his kids were in public school. And that was a choice he made on purpose, not a compromise he was ashamed of. The difference between these two men was never their income. Derek out-earned Sam by almost double. The difference was what happened to the money after it arrived. 6 months after the layoff, Derek sat at his kitchen table with a stack of bills he could no longer shuffle around. The car got repossessed in month 5. The house was heading toward the same fate. His marriage was under a strain that money problems put on almost every relationship they touch. He finally called Sam. Not because they were close friends, but because Sam was the only person he knew who might understand numbers without judging him for asking. They sat in Sam's plain living room with the dented bumper visible through the window, and Derek asked the question that this entire video has been building toward. How are you not panicking? You make less than I did. How is your family fine and mine is falling apart? Sam's answer was almost disappointing in how simple it was. He said, I never let my lifestyle catch up to my income. Every raise I got, I raised my savings rate first and my spending second, if at all. I was never trying to look successful. I was trying to be secure. Those are not the same goal, and chasing the first one usually costs you the second one. That sentence is the entire lesson of this video. Say it again if you need to. Looking successful and being secure are not the same goal, and chasing the first one usually costs you the second one. Here is what was actually happening underneath the surface of these two lives, and this is the part you can apply starting today. Derek was practicing what looks like wealth. Every dollar that came in was assigned to something that could be seen by other people. The car, the house, the watch, the school. These are called visible expenses, and they are the fastest way to look rich while quietly staying broke, because they all come with recurring payments attached. Sam was practicing what builds wealth. Before a single dollar hit his checking account for spending, a portion was already gone into savings and investments. This is sometimes called paying yourself first, and it works because it removes the decision entirely. You are not relying on willpower at the end of the month when there is nothing left. You decide once, automate it, and the system does the discipline for you. The uncomfortable truth is that most people who look wealthy on the outside are simply better at financing an image than they are at building actual net worth. Income is not wealth. Income is just the raw material. What you do with it in the first 60 seconds after it lands is what determines whether you end up like Derek or like Sam. So, how do you actually build the Sam version of this story into your own life? 3 steps, and none of them require you to earn more money than you do right now. That part matters. So let it sink in. This is not a video telling you to go get a second job or ask for a raise you may not get this year. This is about redirecting money that is already flowing through your hands every single month. Step 1. Automate your savings the day your paycheck lands, not the day after your bills are paid. Here is why the order matters so much. When you wait until the end of the month to save whatever is left over, there is almost never anything left over. Life expands to fill the space you give it, a dinner out here, a subscription there, a sale that felt too good to skip. None of these decisions feel reckless in the moment. But add them up and they quietly eat the exact amount you meant to save. Automating removes you from the equation entirely. Even if it starts at 10%, set up the transfer so it happens automatically the moment your paycheck lands, before it ever touches your everyday spending account. A system beats willpower every single time, because willpower runs out by the end of a long day, and a system never gets tired. Step 2. Separate your visible expenses from your invisible progress. This is the part that catches most people off guard, because visible expenses do not feel like a trap while you are making them. They feel like success. A nicer car, a bigger house, a better version of the life your neighbors can see. But here is the question that actually matters before any upgrade. Is this funded by money you already have sitting in your account, or is it funded by a payment plan stretching years into the future? That single question is the difference between building wealth and financing an image of wealth. Visible upgrades funded by debt are the exact trap that caught Derek. The suit, the watch, the 3-car garage, none of it was wrong to want. What was wrong was funding all of it with monthly payments that assumed nothing would ever go wrong. Step 3. Build your 6-month cushion before you build your image. This is the least glamorous advice in personal finance, and that is exactly why most people skip it. An emergency fund is not exciting. Nobody posts a picture of their savings account. It does not photograph well, it does not impress anyone at a dinner party, and it will sit there for years doing what looks like nothing. But that boring, invisible cushion is the difference between a layoff being a stressful inconvenience you handle calmly and a layoff being the event that unravels everything you spent years building. Sam did not predict his plant would have layoffs that quarter. He simply built the cushion long before he needed a reason to. None of this requires a dramatic overhaul of your entire financial life. It requires redirecting money you are probably already earning, just moving it in a different order than you are used to. Save first, spend second, instead of the other way around. Derek eventually rebuilt, by the way. It took almost 2 years, and it started with him doing the one thing he had never done before: automating his savings first, before anything else touched that paycheck. The boring habit that Sam had been quietly running the whole time, the entire way through this story, without ever once needing to explain himself. If this story felt uncomfortably familiar, that discomfort is useful. It is usually the first sign that you already know which version of this story you have been living. This video is for general educational purposes only and is not personalized financial advice. Talk to a licensed financial professional about decisions specific to your situation.